get started, a lot of people are they're definitely going to be joining live as the conversation is going. Now, again, just to reiterate, I'm going to be using my tablet just to ensure that we have current information. And for those who are just joining, I'm not an immigration expert. I'm giving you my experience through the global talent visa application, and then based on the different people I've been able to help and some of the rejection letters I've gotten from other people, the conversation will be driven by that. So don't quote me anywhere saying you got advice from an immigration expert. Now, one of the key things which I want to begin with is I really want people to have an understanding on what this visa is all about. The conversation has started. We are going to have a detailed understanding of what this visa is all about. I'm going to get to the point where I'll share with you some of the requirements of the visa. And then, given that we have diverse audience from different areas, different countries, different walks of life, and different expertise levels, I'm going to share with you equally the different endorsement opportunities, like the different endorsement routes which you can go through. And then, lastly, in the course of the conversation, we'll get to a point where we'll take a lot of questions. But as I'm driving the conversation, if you have any question which you think that is important, please make use of the chat. Make good use of the chat because I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can. No question is done, by the way. No question is done. Every question which I get in the chat is important to someone, right? Now, basically, my name is Mike. Probably you've come across some people might have probably shared this over different medium, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever means which you got this information. But I'll just do a brief self-introduction. My name is Michael. I'm based here in the United Kingdom in London, and I've been in the IT industry for almost all my life. I'll be honest, but experience-wise, technical experience-wise, I have over 10 plus years of experience in the IT sector. I've been on several global platforms in Africa, out of Africa, and I've had the opportunity to work with people across different walks of life, helping people transition into tech through cloud computing and DevOps, and equally helping others to find meaning in whatever it is they are doing. So I came to the United Kingdom last year through this visa route, which is why we're having this conversation. And my journey really was shaped by this visa. I had no idea, don't think that I was aware of the visa route before applying or before anything of that sort. I had no idea about this visa. I learned about this visa this same time last year, January last year. I was able to submit my application for the Global Talent Visa application on the 4th of January, that was in 2025. By the 28th of January, I got the decision from the endorsing organization for those in digital technology because I applied as a DevOps engineer. I've been, for the past 5 years in my career, I've been more focused around DevOps and cloud computing. So my application was as a DevOps engineer. Once I got my application submitted on the 4th of January, by the 28th of January, I was able to get feedback from the endorsing organization and I was endorsed to apply for the visa. So I'll explain to you guys what the endorsement mean and all of that as we make progress in the conversation. So one of the key things which I'll be highlighting in this conversation is let's understand some of the benefits of this visa, right? Because why you're here is because you want the visa and you need to know what this visa can give you. Now, through this visa route, the global talent is designed for special category of people. They call them exceptionally talented people, right? This is for exceptional talent. You can either be exceptional promise or exceptional talent. The visa is for exceptionally talented people. But don't be scared with the word talent or exceptional or exceptionalism. We are going to break that down in the conversation. Now, with this visa, you do not require to get sponsorship of any company. Unlike the other immigration routes to the United Kingdom, you need to have been sponsored. Some people were previously, just now that there's this recent immigration changes, but previously, people used to come to the United Kingdom under sponsorship visas. Some call them COS or K visas and all of that. Some of those visas have gradually seen or gradually come to an end or to a halt. And the UK is prioritizing the global talent visa. Through this route, you do not need a company to sponsor you. It means that permit me to use the word free agent. When you eventually come to the United Kingdom, you can be a free agent. You're not tied to any company. You're not tied to any employer. With the visa, you have the possibility to work with anyone. So if you are a developer, for example, in Cameroon or in Ghana or in Kenya or in South Africa, as I've seen the chart, or in Nigeria, and you're getting the or you get the visa from wherever you are as a developer, once you move to the United Kingdom, nothing stops you from continuing your journey as a developer. So, because you're an exceptional talent, many companies will be in a mad rush for you. You can easily get now to interview for companies within the scope of your field. So probably you come in as a developer, you can start interviewing for companies for developer roles. You can start interviewing with companies for DevOps engineer roles, cybersecurity engineer roles, and a lot more. So once you get the visa, you do not require sponsorship. Once you get in, you can easily apply for any role within your field. I was able to apply for DevOps related roles, and in under 2 months, like probably you've seen across my social media handles, I was able to get my DevOps jobs moving to the UK with this visa. Now, again, it's the I would say, in my opinion, is like the most flexible visa. If you come here, you're doing business back in Africa or in India, wherever you find yourself, you can continue doing the same business which you were doing, because the visa doesn't restrict you from running or operating a business here in the United Kingdom. The visa doesn't equally restrict you from going through. Probably you want to study, it doesn't stop you from studying. The visa equally doesn't stop you from probably bringing your dependents and a lot more. So you have extreme freedom under this visa route. And one thing you should know is it's equally a very fast route to settlement here in the United Kingdom. With the global talent visa, within 3 to 5 years, depending on if you're endorsed as talent or if you're endorsed as promise, you can get the indefinite leave to remain. According to British immigration or nomenclature, or the way the British immigration works, once you have made a certain amount of time here in the United Kingdom, you can get what is called an indefinite leave to remain. The indefinite leave to remain is what moves you from maybe a temporary resident to a more permanent resident. And with your indefinite leave to remain, probably after a year, you can then apply for a British citizenship. So for the global talent visa, you can easily transition from an immigrant to indefinite leave to remain to the British citizenship. So those are some of the key things you have. This is like a fast route to settlement here in the United Kingdom. Now, I have a question in the chat. Can an applicant get rejected based on geographical location? The global talent visa is not bound to any geographic location. You can get the name global talent, right? They are not restricting people from maybe Asia or from Africa or from America or from Middle East or from Canada and so on. No matter the location you find yourself, if you meet the criteria and you feel like within the next phase of your career you want to relocate to the United Kingdom, you can use the global talent visa. So it's not bound to your geographic location. The only thing which they look out for is your impact, your talents, and what you've been able to do for the past 3 to 5 years and more. So there's no restriction on your location. Again, if you're just joining and you have any question, you can leave that in the chat. We are going to be having or answering all of these questions, clarifying your doubts as we make progress with the conversation. Now, you've heard about the visa. I want to talk about the different organizations that are responsible for providing endorsements. The endorsement basically is what is needed for you to apply for the visa. So the visa is a two-step. Step one, you apply for an endorsement. Once you're given the endorsement, before you can apply for the visa. Again, step one, you apply for an endorsement. Once you're given the endorsement, you can then apply for the visa. So because you need the endorsement, there are different organizations that the United Kingdom has put in place to assess how eligible people can be for the visa. Many people have I saw a couple of comments on my LinkedIn and other LinkedIn articles I came across, and people were like, this visa route is trying to bring scammers or is trying to bring some kind of people into the United Kingdom. Like I commented one of those comments, this is one of the most, I would say, easiest visas to get, but it's equally one of the most difficult visas to get. Why do I say so? Because they say global talent doesn't mean you get or you can prove or you can easily show that you're a talent. There are organizations that have been put in place. There are companies having employees that have been put in place to go through all applications. It's not a man no man affair. There are companies, structures put in place to ensure that anybody who is given the opportunity to come to the United Kingdom is talented. And these organizations work day and night to assess all applications against their requirements. All the organizations have their requirements. There are some organizations, well, not some, all of them have what they call the mandatory criteria, things which you must meet if you want to get the visa. They call it the mandatory criteria. And we equally have what we call the optional criteria. I guess I'll discuss some of that within the conversation or as the conversation goes. So the mandatory criteria must be met. The organizations will check your mandatory criteria requirements, and the organizations will equally check your optional criteria requirements. So it's important to know that before you get a visa, you must get an endorsement. I also have a question in the chat. Question: I am already in the UK as an international student. Can I apply while I am here, or I have to do it from my country of origin? Now, with the global talent visa, you do not necessarily need. It's not a function of where you are, like I explained earlier. And people who have already had, like a lot of people who are already in the UK, some of the people who got the visas were able to get it moving from student visa to their global talent, or from postgraduate visa to global talent, right? So you must not necessarily go back to your home country. But what is important is you must prove that whilst being a student here in the UK, you've been able to do things that quantify or that can qualify for your for your endorsement, right? Now, someone's asking another question: which criteria do applicants need to be considered as potential leaders? Give me 1 minute, guys. Now, potential leaders, this is a misconception. Whether you are 3 years in the industry, 1 year, or 4, or 3, or 5, whatever the case, you're all evaluated the same, right? But now, what makes somebody potential and the other a talent is based on their years of experience. If you're within 3 to 5 years of experience, you qualify under what they call the promise, exceptional promise. But if you have over 5 years of experience, that means if you have, maybe when you submit your resume or your CV, and it shows on your CV that you have over 5 years of experience. If you have over 5 years of experience, that means you're automatically evaluated as a talent. Now, when you submit the documents, the criteria is the same. All applications, be it for talent and for promise, they must be evaluated based on the criteria. In the case of digital technology, you must meet the mandatory criteria. All your applications will be evaluated, the mandatory criteria requirements will be evaluated. For example, mandatory criteria, they will ask, you need to show proof that you have been recognized as a leader or a potential leader in the field of digital technology. Regardless of where you are, you need to show that you have been recognized. So, in 3 years, what have you done that is very significant that warranted you getting a significant recognition? That is a mandatory criteria. And per the guidelines of the endorsing organizations, you must have two pieces of evidence to show, to prove that you have been recognized as a leader in your given field. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is you must meet two of the optional criteria. We have this: if you're into digital technology, there's what they call this the optional criteria for those who have done significant research work that is advanced in the digital technology field. We equally have those who have done uh, uh, um, those who have spoken in product-led, sorry, those who have been able to speak. You've been a speaker, you've been a panelist, you've equally maybe done some open source contributions, you've written some technical articles. In my case, I use my YouTube channel as one of my evidences. So if you've been producing content, or you have been speaking in conferences, or you've been doing mentorship, or any such thing that is advancing your field, you can prove that that thing which you did is meeting the criteria where you've done, because the criteria says you should prove that you've done significant contributions outside your immediate role that is advanced in the field. And then the last category or last criteria is you must show or you must prove that you have been either a founder, an employee, or a senior executive of a product-led company. Now, regardless of whether you have made 2 years, 3 years, or 4 or 5 years, that is the criteria that will be used. And based on your years of experience and the level of impact which you have made, that is what we use to determine if you are potential, or that's if you're a promise, or if you are a talent. So it's not a function of it's literally not a function of maybe where you are, but a function of meeting the criteria. Now, I see a question. So, what if you are just 1 year in cybersecurity? If you're just 1 year in cybersecurity, I'm afraid it might be a little bit challenging for you to get endorsed. Why? In 1 year, I'm really wondering what you would take or what you should have probably done in 1 year that is advancing the cybersecurity space, because most likely in that first year, you're surely just gaining the experience around cybersecurity. So you probably have not gained the experience to the point where you're writing technical articles around cybersecurity concepts, or maybe you're probably giving talks around cybersecurity and so on, or maybe if you have a YouTube channel or something, right? So 1 year of experience, in my opinion, is really small to quantify how ready you are for the visa. Now let's make some progress. If you have any question, you can always leave that in the chat. So I'll be picking up the questions as we make significant progress. Now I was talking about the different endorsement organizations. For the endorsement organizations, we have Technation, strictly for those in digital technology. And well, I'll quickly share my screen so you can equally. I'll share these links or these resources after this live, but let me just quickly share my screen so you have a sneak peek of what the endorsing organization for those in the field of the technology is all about. So if you can see my screen, you indicate with a yes in the chat. Just let me know by saying that, and then I'll know those who are seeing my screen. If you can see my screen, indicate with a yes in the chat. Let me get as many yeses in the chat as possible. If you can see my screen, indicate the yes in the chat. Let me get as many yeses in the chat as possible. Now, Technation is the endorsing organization for those in the field of digital technology. If you're into digital technology and you want to get a global talent visa, Technation is the endorsing organization. If you come to the official website of Technation, you can see the homepage regarding the global talent visa. So it says Global Talent Visa, work, live, thrive in the UK, one of the largest tech ecosystems in the world. Of course, you know UK is one of the largest tech ecosystems. Now you can apply. The Technician website has a lot of resources. Welcome to the Global Talent Visa. So I'll just read the information from here as we make progress. It says the Global Talent Visa enables the best, take note of the keyword, the best tech talent from around the world to work in the United Kingdom's digital technology sector, contributing their cutting-edge expertise and creative skills. You want to be very careful with the keywords which are used here, because these same keywords which are used are the keywords that are used to evaluate your endorsement application. They say they want experts. They do not say beginners, right? They say tech experts that have experience or that are contributing their cutting edge expertise and creative skills. Whether you're an experienced coder or an established tech marketer, our top tier visa offers great flexibility and freedom. I already mentioned this earlier. You and your family, right? If you're for people who are connected to the live, if you're married, you have a spouse, you have dependents, if you have kids, you have a family, your entire family can relocate. No limitations to just maybe you relocating. So they say whether you're an experienced coder, you and your entire family will be able to seize opportunities enriching your lives and careers without having to regularly update your visa status. Now, going down, you see a lot more information. There's the official application guide. There are other official documents, and why join this visa flexibility, the family program, the low cost. Yeah, I did not mention this, is extremely one of the cheapest visas. I did not spend up to £5,000 to relocate to the United Kingdom. Not up to £5,000, right? To apply for the visa, to apply for the endorsement was over 500 and something pound. Once you get the endorsement to apply for the actual visa is around 200 and something pound. That made it roughly around 700 and something pound. After that, I did my biometrics and the other things, which was roughly around 100 and something pound. And lastly, when you get the visa, you must apply. You must pay for what they call the health. It's kind of like a health insurance. In the UK, as an immigrant, you have to pay health insurance yearly, and the cost to apply to pay for the health insurance is £1,000. So initially, I paid for three years. You could probably pay for 1 year depending on your condition, right? So in with less than £5,000, getting this visa, you can easily get yourself sorted and starting your tech journey here. So they say the total cost of application is only £766. I guess I already mentioned this. There's an amazing network. Then they say who can apply? Exceptional talent and exceptional promise. Exceptional talent if you are well established in your career, 5+ years of experience, and you have a strong, again, the key to the or be attentive to the keywords. You have a strong track record in your particular field. You should explore this pathway. For exceptional promise, if you are earlier in your career, 5 years or less, with a strong academic record, or you are making significant contributions to impactful projects, either your own tech company or as an employee, you can be endorsed as a talent, right? Now, that's who can apply. How it works, basically, these are the same steps which I've been discussing a couple of minutes back. You apply for an endorsement. Once you get an endorsement, like when you apply, you await for confirmation. Once you get the confirmation, you can then apply for the visa or for your visa. Once you apply for your visa, you get the final confirmation. The reason why you have to wait for the final conversation is final confirmation is because some people they have some people might meet tech nation requirements, but visa requirements they do not meet. Probably if you have been supporting anti-terrorism or terrorism movements, or you have been supporting some left-wing or right-wing movements that are against the laws of the United Kingdom, or probably you've been into some fraud and something like that, you might not get the visa despite being endorsed. That's why they say you have to wait for final confirmation, right? Then they have a great alumni network and a lot more. So Global Talent Visa checklist and preparation, the self-assessment, application pathway, building application, home office application, endorsement application, post-endorsement, what happens even if you're not endorsed, and the additional information. So these are like the basic time frames, how long I have to submit my application and so on. So Technician is the official organization responsible for endorsing those in the field of digital technology. Let me take one or two questions in the chat and then we make progress with the other endorsing organs. Now, I see one of the questions. Let's see. I hold. Oh, let's see. There are a lot of questions so far. So let me just go through the questions one at a time. Which one am I taking first? Question. I'm already in the UK. I think we've answered that already. So, what if you're 1 year? I think we've already answered that. I hold 2 AWS certifications. Do professional cloud certifications carry weight as evidence of exceptional promise, or are they just viewed as baseline technical skills? That's a very great question, by the way. Many people have the misconception relating or regarding certifications. Certifications are good, they are great, but when you're applying for the visa, you need what is called third-party validation. Third-party validation means that another institution or another professional in your field is able to kind of commend the work which you're doing. While I was applying for the Global Talent Visa, I was an Amazon Web Service community builder. I've been doing a lot of work advancing the DevOps niche, telling people about DevOps, doing a lot around cloud computing. I was equally a speaker at the AWS Community Day, one of the biggest AWS community days that was organized in my country, the first maiden edition. Because I was able to do some of those things, I equally had a lot of content on my YouTube channel telling people about cloud computing, DevOps, and I was encouraging a lot of people to join Amazon Web Service Cloud. Because of that impact, Amazon gave me what is called the AWS Community Builders Badge. I think I've already done a video in my YouTube channel that I've talked a lot about getting this community builders badge. So people following me with tech with a tech background, your AWS community builders, that is like a recognition, right? They say in the mandatory criteria you need to prove that you have been recognized. If you have not done sustainable or consistent contributions to the AWS community or to the AWS cloud platform, you will not get the AWS community builders badge. That means you have no third party confirming that you're advancing the AWS space. But when it comes to certifications, why are certifications not highly regarded? Because anybody can take a certification. In fact, someone who has no idea around your AWS or around AWS cloud, but who has experience in taking certifications, that person can effectively prepare very well for AWS certifications and ace those certifications, regardless of being in the tech field. So no third party can verify if they're exceptional in AWS or not. But once they can do a lot of contribution and a company or cloud platform says, we are recognizing you for, we have, I've even seen people have been doing a lot of work around MongoDB. They are MongoDB ambassadors. I've seen HashiCorp Terraform ambassadors. I've seen for developers, you've probably done a lot of development contribution in an open source project that is still advancing, and maybe you've received a recognition from that open source project regarding your contributions. That is a recognition, right? So certifications, they are good for, well, I don't want to be harsh, but they are good just for you, right? You cannot prove to technician that your certifications make you outstanding, because if anybody decides to have as many certifications as they possibly want to have, they will have all those certifications. So you want to be very mindful of the fact that certifications, despite being great, are not that much of a, well, they're not that much a ranking metric. Yeah, but they can add to your portfolio, but not that, it won't really push you that far. Now, I have another question. Let's see. As a filmmaker, do I qualify for the program, and how do I go about the global talent visa? Yes, those who are into filmmaking, there is an well, we are going to get into that. There's an organization specific for those. Remember, I mentioned the visa is for those in digital technology, arts and culture, research, and academia. If you're a filmmaker, you categorize, or you can fall under the category of those who are into arts and culture. Those who are into art and culture, they have their own endorsing organization. We're going to look at that in a few minutes from now. And you'll see some of the requirements which you, as a filmmaker, you need to meet before you can get the endorsement. So, long and well, short answer to your question is, as a filmmaker, if you can prove they're exceptional, you can get the endorsement as a filmmaker under the Arts Council England. So let's take the next question. Well, I don't think it's a question. There is a mention about not having to renew visa status. Does that mean the visa validity of the global challenge talent visa is indefinite? Now, once you get the global talent, that's why I told you guys that in fact, it's a very strategic visa with respect to getting faster route to immigration. If you get your global talent visa today, let's say you're endorsed and you're given 3 years, that means you're endorsed, or you're endorsed as you're endorsed as a global talent. Once you're endorsed as a global talent means you have 3 years. After 3 years of living in the United Kingdom as a global talent, you automatically apply for the indefinite leave to remain. Now, the only thing which you need to do, the visa that will be given on your, well, what the visa will carry is the validity of your period of your visa will just be based on the amount that you pay for your IHS. That means if you're endorsed as talent and you pay for IHS upfront, that means that the IHS is the health insurance, right? If you pay for the health insurance for 3 years straight, it means after those 3 years, you just need to apply for indefinite leave to remain. The same thing, if you're endorsed as promise, after 5 years, you apply for indefinite leave to remain. So there's no need for renewing. Well, technically, there's no need for renewing if you can pay for if you can pay for all your health surcharge, which is like the health insurance. The other question I see is, if you successfully get endorsed, does it mean the chances of getting the visa is guaranteed? Also, what's the validity of the visa? I guess I'll just answer that very briefly. Once you successfully get endorsed, what's the guarantee of getting a visa? The guarantee is 90%, right? The most complex thing is getting the endorsement because you need to do a lot of work to prove that you're exceptional in the field of digital technology. That's the most crazy, in my opinion, the most difficult thing. Once you get endorsed, most often than not, 90% of the people get endorsed get their visas. Now, so I can apply as an exceptional promise. You can apply as an exceptional promise if you meet the criteria. We have not gone detail into that. If you meet the criteria. Now, let's see another question. Can you help me with your application template so I can tailor my application to? Well, we are going to look at that. Now, one thing which I'll highlight is what works for me might not necessarily work for you. Why am I saying so? My profile was purely tailored for an expert in the field of digital technology, specifically as a DevOps engineer. If you're a DevOps engineer, my profile was tailored for DevOps engineering. So always into cybersecurity, for example, might use my profile might not get endorsed, right? And worst of all is the fact that almost everything that is on my or in my profile is based on what I did. So if you take my application template and you're trying to look into it, it might get you frustrated, sometimes discouraged because you'll be like, oh no, maybe I've not done as much as this person, right? So I really feel like it might not really be that helpful to you. Yeah, something like that. Let's see. Uh Next question. How about getting recommendation from previous employees, companies as proof of experience? So you have 5 plus years of experience. Now, when it comes to the application, there are many things that matter. You have to submit a couple of documents. By the way, my upcoming video will be about the documents which you need to submit, or all the application list, right? Documents which you need before you can apply for the visa. One of the key things you must take note of is you must meet the document requirement per your endorsing organization. Somebody was asking regarding arts, filmmaking. They have their own documents which you must submit. Those in digital technology have their own documents which they must submit. Now, your 5 plus years of experience, people in your previous company can most likely help you in giving you a strong recommendation. But if you want to use your previous companies that you've worked in for the past 5 years, you must make sure, guys, listen to this, listen attentively. You must make sure you are putting a product led company. What is a product-led company? A product-led company is a company that has been building digital SaaS or PaaS or IaaS products. What's SaaS? Platform as a service, or a software as a service, or an infrastructure as a service product. If you bring a service product, if you've been doing services, your digital company has been doing just services, consultancy services, building 1 or 2 websites for people and so on, you cannot prove that company was a product-led company. If you have been working in the government, you cannot prove that the government is a product-led company. If you have been working for a non-profit organization, you cannot prove that's a product-led company. So the emphasis is on product-led companies. What significant impact did you do with or in a product-led company? Is that okay? If you're just joining, please, if you have questions, you can leave in the chat. Our conversation is driving. I just want to clear some of the questions before I make progress. Now, let's see. Can you help me? Oh, already answered that. How about getting recommendations? Answered that. What does it take for me to meet up with the criteria? We're going to have that conversation in the next few minutes. What it takes to meet the criteria. Now, I'm applying as a DevOps engineer. Can I use my contribution as a Python to a Python package with 8K downloads as evidence, or does it mean it has to be? That's a very good evidence, right? If you've done contribution to a project that has 8K downloads, it means that was a very, very great project. 8K plus download means that that Python package which you built was able to impact 8,000 people in the industry. Mind you, Python is an automation language which is used around DevOps frameworks. A lot of companies currently use Python for automation. In fact, Amazon Web Service even has a whole library, the Amazon Boto 3 library that is a Python library, right? So saying you've done some significant contribution, open source contribution to a Python project that has over 8,000 plus downloads means that project was a very, very, very interesting project. And I think that that is a very good evidence which you have there. Now, I'm into child education and teen leadership. Do I qualify? Well. I guess I just mentioned this a few moments back. Companies, the endorsement bodies are looking mainly for those who are working in product or who have worked in product-led companies. If you can coin all of what you did outside or as a child educator or teens education or whatever the case might be, if you can coin all of that as work which you did outside your immediate role, make sure that it matches the criteria of you advancing your field. Anything which you do, any document which you're submitting, any evidence which you're presenting to them, if it does not prove, if it does not show that it is advancing your given field, that document is null and void. I love the way these guys give their rejection letters. They'll be like, while we appreciate, they will not make you feel like you're doing a bad thing, right? They'll be like, while we appreciate the significant contributions you've done as a this, unfortunately, this does not. So they always have that. You have to be very careful. Your work must be geared towards or must be centered around product-led companies, companies that are building digital products, infrastructure as a service product, platform as a service product, software as a service product, are a lot more, but they must be a digital product. Now let's take this other question from, okay, good. Talk more about the endorsement. I guess we are going to get into that. From their website, they want some companies to endorse you. That's what I explained earlier, that there are companies responsible for doing endorsement. For those in the field of digital technology, the company responsible for endorsing you is Technician, and that's what we just looked at a few moments back. Technician does the endorsement, right? But before they endorse you, you must submit a given set of documents. I've already mentioned that, and I equally mentioned that in my next upcoming video, my YouTube channel, I'll break down the documents that are required, right? The documents I'll just quickly highlight. You need to submit, well, you must have a personal statement, a 1,000-word personal statement that first must be able to highlight your professional experience over the years. It must be able to highlight where or what contributions you've done. And most importantly, it must be able to highlight what impact you have to bring or you're bringing into the digital or into whatever industry you're coming to the UK with. So you must be careful what you're putting in your personal statement. So we have a personal statement. The second document which you must submit is your resume. You need to have a resume. The resume is what the endorsement organizations will use to judge how many years of experience you have. If you've been in the industry for 4 years with your what's this called? If you've been in the industry for 4 years, your CV is what will be used to judge all your experience for the past 4 years, right? So you need your personal statement, you need a CV, you need 3 letters of recommendation, 3 experts, senior experts, in fact, world-class experts. Let me make emphasis on that. 3 experts must give you recommendation to prove that you're exceptional in the field of whatever you're applying for, maybe digital technology, arts, and culture. So you have a CV, a personal statement, letters of recommendation, and then the key, the heartbeat of everything is the evidence documents. The evidence documents. That's like it's like the biggest nightmare. You must show how you meet the requirements of the different endorsing organizations. I hope that answered your question. Please, guys, if you're just joining, let's hit the like button so the live can get, well, a lot more people can join the live and have tangible conversations or benefit from this conversation. Let me see as many people as possible. I see about 34 people connected. So please do well to just hit the like, so you can get a lot more traction. And then equally, if you think that you're finding value out of this, you might possibly want to share this in your social media handles. So let's get many more people benefiting from this from this session. Now I'm seeing another question. Contributed to an open source project or projects as well as AWS Community Builder. I got the AWS Community Builders Welcome Grant at 10 Reinvent Las Vegas, but I defer it to this year. Well, getting the All Builders Grant, uh, let me know in the chat if you're a community builder. Maybe you can follow up that your conversation with if you're a community builder, and then the All Builders Welcome Grant. It sounds good, but you when you went for the Orbit, let me know when you went for the AWS All Builders, the reinvent in Las Vegas. Were you like did you lead any session? Were you part of any session as a leader or as a mentor or whatever the case might be? Because that's what really like stand you out, right? Let's see. I'm also a DevOps engineer with 4 years of experience. I just want to look. Did I miss any question? Okay, I already answered that. I am also a DevOps engineer with 4 years of experience. I just want to look at your how you present your evidences, then tailor my okay. Yeah, we're going to get to that conversation in a bit. Now I see the other guy. How can social media help with the application? Social media is very important. By the way, guys, are you aware the United States of America is trying to pin or trying to make use of social media profiling for for almost everybody in or coming to the United States? Your social media is you. People don't understand this. Your social media is you. Some people want to apply for global talent visa. They do not even have a LinkedIn profile. Like their LinkedIn profile is inactive. They know, but like if you search them. By the way, if I was an assessor of the global talent visa, the very first thing I'll do is when I get someone's name. Let me take for example, I see Isaac Kumi. If I take Isaac Kumi for example, I type Isaac Kumi on Google on my Google browser. Every information that Google cross out about him will give me an idea on who this person is. After that, I want to start looking at one professional platform to the other, one professional platform to the other, one professional platform to the other, right? Once we can establish all of those things, then will I know if this guy was really exceptional or is really exceptional or not, right? So your social media plays a whole lot. Now, social media does not mean that they'll be looking at your Facebook or maybe Snapchat. Some people are on Snapchat, some on Instagram. But if you've been doing content on those platforms that's advancing your field, then can you really use it significantly? Let's see. Um, can a DevOps engineer I'm not sure. Can a DevOps engineer or applicant use software engineering evidence, or must all evidence strictly align with my DevOps job title? It's not a function of your job title, but of course, when you're applying, they want you to tailor your applications based on a career path, right? They say digital technology. Of course, many DevOps engineers in the industry currently transition from developer roles. So it doesn't mean that it's not advancing the DevOps field. Keyword: digital technology. So we are looking at how your field or whatever you've done is advancing the digital technology route. But you must, as much as possible, ensure that, excuse me guys, you must as much as possible ensure that all your evidences that you're submitting, they are they are like mainly targeted towards building a solid profile about or around the key thing which you're applying for. So almost all my evidences were like centered around DevOps. That's just to increase my chances of getting the endorsement. Let's see. Can an undergraduate capstone project? What's the capstone project coming? Maybe you might give me more light around that. Capstone backend framework. Wait, let me just check. Give me 1 minute, guys. Let me be sure what Capstone project means. Capstone. Oh, okay. Not sure. Oh, finance year project. I'm sure that's Ghanaian or Nigerian or something. From scratch count as an innovation for now the project you worked on. How many people are currently using the product or project? because that will matter a lot, like the impact of the project or product which you came up with. How many people are currently using it? You must be able to answer that, right? Yes, daily. You want to? I think we'll have a conversation. You DM, and then we'll probably see how to go about that. Now let's make some progress, guys. Let's make some progress. Let's make some progress. For those in the field of arts and culture, we have Arts Council. Let me just quickly share Arts Council as well. Let's do this. Where is Arts Council? Just give me one. Okay, yes, I think this is it. I'll share these links as we make progress. So here, let me just first share that of. Let me share that of digital technology for those who've already, like we've already discussed that. That is the guide for those in digital technology, that technician. Let me put that of Arts Council England. Now, for Arts Council England, it's the same thing. They're endorsing those in the field of arts and culture, right? So someone asked, there was a question on what kind of fields they can apply for with respect to Arts Council England. We can see here we have fields related to film, television, animation, post production, and visual effect applicants. Those are the key things. So your resume must show details of your full professional film, details of your full professional film, television, animation, post production, or visual effects career and education, if applicable to date. It should include specific details, including the year for each engagement. You must include this in addition to the 10 pieces of physical evidence, as those are still required, right? So these are the endorsement requirements for those in arts and culture. And then let's just quickly let's quickly look at those in the field of research. We have those in the field of research, right? Those in the field of research. If you're a researcher, you'll be doing significant research work. You can use what we call British Academy. We can use British Academy as well as you can use the Royal Society. So Royal Society is mainly for those who are in the field of who are in the field of arts, who are in the field of research and academia. Is that okay? So we have, they say if you are applying for an endorsement in the fields of science, engineering, medicine, the social sciences of the humanities, or for other academic and research roles. So if you're applying for academic, so some people have been into academia, right? If you're maybe a senior lecturer or whatever the case might be, or any other academic role, research and academic roles, the Home Office will refer you to either British Council, Royal Academy of Engineering, or Royal Society of UK Research and Innovation. Is that okay? So this is the organization for those in research and academia. So let me equally know in the chat if you have any questions with respect to the endorsing bodies. Now let's do this. In my chat, I think I have one more question. Apart from LinkedIn, Quora, Stack Overflow, which other social platforms are considered to be professional and are good to be active on? Well, those platforms you mentioned are good if you have technical experience and you can probably create content. I recommend you have articles or content on Medium. If you have content on Medium, you can also, there's this other platform, dev.io, or any other platform that you can use that you can block tech related content. I will equally recommend you can use that. Is that okay? Thank you for addressing research and academia. Okay, let's see. For DevOps, what is high quality evidence, architecture diagrams, and IC snippets of the live environment screenshots? Please don't go and screenshot your Kubernetes cluster configuration files and put. So what they are saying is, if, for example, there's this application that is used for those in Nigeria, or well, not just Nigeria, it's an African platform. There is equally let me just take one which every other person knows, right? Zoom. Now, with Zoom is a digital product, right? It's a software as a service. Zoom enables people to have meetings, and they pay as it's a pay as you go platform, right? If you want to have meetings for this number of people, you can say you can pay a subscription for Zoom, a monthly subscription, and a quarterly subscription, or an annual subscription. Now, Zoom is a very well, despite looking easy, it's a very complex application. There are many components that are put together or that are fit together to make Zoom work. Zoom might be a microservice application with a lot of different components, streaming components, UI components, data transmission components, and a lot. That entire microservice architecture of the platform might have been done by you. You do not necessarily need to go and bring all the Kubernetes manifest or Helm manifest or Argo CD templates or any other like Helm charts which you probably have defined for that digital product. But you can prove that Zoom is currently having an exponential growth. This number of people are using Zoom. Zoom has a number of impact and so on. And all of that because of the level of expertise which you use to ensure Zoom could maybe effectively use microservice architectures for their deployments. That is now how you can prove that with your architecture, Kubernetes, or whatever the case, you've been able to impact a product-led company. I've been very keen to this. All your evidences or whatever you're going to submit, you must bring it to impact of a product or impact to a product-led company. Is that okay? For those in research and academia, please do well to go through the guidelines. There are many things. I think maybe let me just quickly show for I think there's the real some people here are into engineering as well, right? Let me quickly share this as well for those into engineering so you guys can see this. Let me quickly share this. I'll share all of these links in the chat in a bit. So give me a few minutes to pull this up. Now, for those in engineering, you must not be into digital technology, right? I know I have a diverse audience here. For those in the field of engineering, there is equally the Royal Academy of Engineering. The Royal Academy of mind you, I'm sharing the companies because you've probably read in that document that there are companies in the UK. What I'm sharing now, these are the companies in the UK that can give you the endorsement. I've shared of engineering. It's a British academy meant to recognize those who are doing significant work around engineering. So you can come to the Royal Academy of Engineering and you get more details on their requirements of the Royal Academy for Engineering. Then for those in the field of research and academia, like I already explained, we equally have the UK research. Let me share this. We equally have the UK research and body. This is the body which can potentially give you an endorsement. Now, there's some key ways, permit me to go into that. There's some key ways. Yes, let me share this. Given that we are still talking about research and academia, take note, researchers, I want to be clear on this because for some people might not qualify for digital technology, but they might qualify for engineering, right? Researchers seeking endorsement for global talent visa, there are 4 routes for eligible academics and researchers obtain endorsement for global talent. The very first one we have is academic and research appointments. The second is individual fellowships. We have endorsed funders and we have peer reviews. I know a couple of people who have completed their PhD programs here in the United Kingdom, and because of the nature of the exceptional work which they did, their organizations were able to file or maybe submit an application for their global talent for them. Others, which is the fourth one, which a lot of people who have completed their PhDs have gone through, is what we call the peer review. So peer review basically means standard endorsement for individuals who submit. So for the other three above, organizations can do on your behalf, but for the peer review, you need to submit for an endorsement. Based on what you submit for an endorsement, you then get feedback from the respective organization if you're eligible or not. So for peer review, standard endorsement for individuals who can submit an application for field peer review by the British Academy, Royal Academy of Engineering, or Royal Society. It's all based on the subject matter, right? Probably into humanities or whatever the case might be. So here are some of the requirements which you can also use. Can I get projects? Can I get projects I can work on? I'm a cloud engineer. Yes, you can get projects which you can work on. Probably we can have a separate conversation around that, given that we have diverse audience. I don't want to get the audience deviated from global talent. Anyways, I'd say a lot more people have joined the live. Please let me know in the chat where you're connected from, so I will know how which audience or how to meet the different audience requirements. Please just comment by the country which you're following the live from. If you're following from South Africa, you want to probably say South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa, or you're connecting from Accra, Ghana, or from Casablanca, or from wherever you find yourself. So just let me know in the chat, like real quick, which city you're connected from. Let's have the conversation going. Let me see people where you're connected from, guys. Let me know in the chat. Okay, Nigeria, how do I get your email address? You can leave me you can just comment in any of my videos, and then yeah. Okay, I'm seeing someone from Boya, Cameroon, someone from Nigeria. Okay, a lot more people connecting from Cameroon. It's like there are so many people connecting from Cameroon. What's going on? Cameroon was eliminated yesterday from the African Cup of Nations. Is it like they are trying to look for other things to do aside football? Okay, let's make some progress, guys. Let's see. We've talked about the different organizations. Now, given that my audience is mostly those into the field of digital technology, I want to do a little bit of deep dive on the uh, uh, um, on the technician requirements. Right now, for technician, you must meet their mandatory criteria. Right, you must meet their mandatory criteria. The mandatory criteria means you must show proven impact in tech. You must show proven impact in tech. There's no way you're getting a visa without showing how impactful you have been in tech. You must have probably gotten an award. I've already mentioned this. You probably have gotten a recognition. You probably have had some companies spotlighting you, right? Some others might have the opportunity where you've worked on it. Like now, let me take for example, I'm the founder of there's this I like using this platform from Nigeria, this Flutterwave. This Flutterwave is kind of like a fintech solution, and that technology or that platform, Flutterwave, is a platform that enables financial transactions all around Africa. I'll use the profile of the CEO of Flutterwave to give you an idea on what a potential profile can be for the Global Talent Visa. Now, as the CEO of Flutterwave, there's a very high chance that reputable organizations have spoken about him. I'll give a simple example. He might have probably featured in Forbes under 30 or Forbes under 50 or whatever the case might be. Just the fact that Forbes identifies that individual as a leading talent in digital technology, that is a form of a recognition, right? Just the fact that Forbes recognizes you It might be another very reputable blog or a very reputable organization in your country or outside your country. If they can give you recognition that you'll be doing significant work, you can use that as a mandatory criteria. Now, still as the CEO of Flutterwave, I can bet that he has been able to speak in so many tech-related conferences, maybe relating to fintech, maybe relating to digital technology, maybe relating to many other things, mentoring people into becoming tech experts and so on. He can easily prove that he meets the criteria where he has done significant contribution outside his immediate role, because he will say he has probably mentored others to become successful developers or big marketers and all the like, right? So you must be able to use, he can prove that he has been a mentor. He can equally prove that he has spoken in conferences. Now, some people want to talk about, or some people want to reference conferences. If you're mentioning the fact that you've been a speaker in a conference, take note that must be a physical event. Technician does not pay attention to virtual events. If you have spoken in virtual events, that's great, that's good, congratulations. But you will not get as much recognition for virtual events as for physical events. Now, if you say a physical event is a field advancing event, you need to make sure that that physical event has over 100 people in attendance. That physical event has over 100 people in attendance. Many people go and put events. Maybe there are 10 people in that event center, or there were 20 people in that event center, and they probably say, "Oh no, I've been the speaker in this conference. This conference was designed to talk about this, and I was a speaker." How many people participated in that conference? What was the impact of the conference which you organized? A lot of people fail to highlight that. So they are looking for conferences that you'll be not just a speaker. They highlight you must be a panelist or a keynote speaker in an event that is advancing your field. So you want to take special note of that. Then, of course, you must meet the optional criteria. And now let me just quickly highlight who qualifies for, like, for those in tech. If you are a software developer, of course, they always want software developers. AI engineers, if you're an AI engineer, like, AI engineers are hot cake. When you come to the UK as an AI engineer, in less than 2 months, you should probably have a job with one of these big companies here, big banks, micro financial services. If you're a cloud engineer, there are a lot of opportunities. Data scientists, a lot of opportunities. UI UX designers, DevOps engineers, cloud engineers, cybersecurity experts, all of these are digital technology experts that can qualify for the global talent visa. Now, I've talked about the exceptional talent and exceptional promise, who can qualify or who can meet the mandatory criteria. By the way, there's this platform, they will, that have been sponsoring some of my videos, so I think it will do me justice to talk a little bit about them. This platform has been well, they have done a lot of work to facilitate the application journey for those in the field of digital technology. Let me quickly share it, and then I've seen a lot of questions around that. So they have a lot of, well, easygoing modules for your application journey. Basically, you can use this to know a lot more around where you stand in terms of your application. Probably you're not even sure if you're eligible, right? So you want to probably check out these. They'll give you a lot more details on where you stand and some of the various requirements which you have. So you can instantly check your eligibility. For eligibility assessment, the questions which, because I've gone through this, the questions which are in this platform, they are really tailored to ensure that you meet the criteria. So it's not like they're asking you questions that you want to hear. They're asking you questions which are based on the different criteria of the endorsing organizations. And then some people have already done a lot of their, maybe you've come up with your documents, you've already created a document so far, and you're wondering if or how to go about assessing the documents per the guidelines of the endorsing organization. You can upload some of those documents and get feedback. Well, instant AI. It's AI based. Because it's AI, I'm guessing that any counsel you're getting from the platform should be you should hold AI accountable, right? You also have to do your due diligence. You also have to do your due diligence. And then for those who are looking at generating, I think I'd already, I don't know, logging in might take some time, but you can also go through generating your evidence documents, looking at some of your sample documents. And some people are not sure which endorsement route they can qualify for. So you can also use this to check out your endorsement routes. So I'll also leave this in the chat, which for people who are like still, regardless of where you are in your application journey. Let's see. Let me also leave this. I don't think I left the other links in the chat. But at the end of the live, I'll see when I upload the video, the output of the live, I'll put all these resources for people who want to get access to them. Let's see. Just give me 1 minute. I have so many screens in front of me. Let me put the Royal Academy of Engineering. Please, if you have any question, do well to continuously leave those questions in the chat. Royal Academy of Engineering. Let's see. Give me 1 minute, guys. I'm almost done. That for research. Give me 1 minute. Let me pick that for research. I have so many tabs open. I use a lot of resources. Let me put these. And you want to put all of these links because after the live, I don't know if they will still be available for you. So please bookmark these links in your whatever you have that you're taking notes with. Then you'll probably use them after the live. Now, let's get into more questions. Let's see. Please, if you're joining the live and you have some questions, do well to leave those questions in the chat. Let's see. There's another question I can see. One is asking, um, question, in conferences with both physical and online attendees, do the online attendees count towards the total number of attendees to the event? They will focus mostly on the physical attendees, right? You might have online attendees, that's fine, that's good, but emphasis will be more on the physical attendees. So if you organize, say for example, you have a conference for, let me just, if there's a conference going on in Excel London, there will definitely be online attendees, right? But for you to be a panelist in a conference in Excel London, or to be a panelist or to be a keynote speaker in a conference in Excel London, it means you are exceptionally talented. You get. So you just think of any big, there's in Africa, there's a Kigali Convention Center, a very big convention center. They usually have a lot of programs. If you are a keynote speaker in one of those programs, or you're a panelist in one of those programs, it means you really are a subject matter expert, right? So just to be a panelist, a keynote speaker, whatever, in a program of that magnitude, it means that you're saying something which people really hold in high esteem, right? So physical presence, physical attendance weighs a lot more than online attendance when they're evaluating the impact. And one conference doesn't suffice, right? Of course, we have probably just spoken in just one conference that was like a high level event, but if you have as many conferences as possible where you are at. Now, I even remember something very important. Because we are talking about a conference, don't go and bring your, permit me to say, church program, guys. Don't go and bring your church program that you were speaking in, and you see that it does feel advancing, especially if you're standing in front of a pulpit. I'm not saying that you should not go and speak in church programs, right? But all events which you're using, make sure those events have a feel of a professional setup, of a professional setting. It should not just be a casual event. You can tell if you see an expert who has spoken in a conference, a TEDx. That many people have, I guess, some of my audience that have spoken in TEDx conferences. When you see those speakers in TEDx conferences, the way they look, you'll be like, no, this guy understands. To be a keynote speaker in TEDx, or to be a panelist in a panel in TEDx, maybe TEDx in Asia or whatever, wherever you might find the TEDx program taking place. To be a panelist or a speaker there, you must have a lot of substance, right? So those are some of the confines which you must take into account when you're submitting documents. Now, there's another question. Somebody says, hello, bro. Hi, bro. Please, guys, let's like the live. Let's like the live. Let's like the live and get many more people engaged. There's another question. My question is, what if you have not been able to work for a product-led company, but you have been programming for some years? Then after your MSc, you decided to develop a product people are now using. That's good. If you have developed a product which people are now using, that's fine, right? But I've told you guys, don't get things mixed up. You must meet all the criteria. You not some, all. You must meet the mandatory criteria. You must meet you have to submit a minimum of 6 evidence documents. A minimum of 6 evidence documents, 2 mandatory criteria documents, two of that means you have to select 2 optional criteria which you submit 2 documents per each of the criteria which you select. So if you're submitting your profile, maybe you're a student or whatever the case, which 2 documents will you submit to prove that you have been recognized as a leader in technology? Which 2 documents will you submit to prove that you've either been a speaker or a panelist in a field advancing conference? Which 2 documents will you submit to prove that you've been a founder of a product-led company? Which 2 documents will you prove to show that you've done something very innovative that is advancing your field? Now, let's go to this. A lot of people keep asking, they've developed a platform which people are using, right? Developing a platform is not enough. The impact, there are a lot of key performance indicators which your platform must meet before it can be considered a substantial evidence. At the time of application, I had a YouTube channel. I used my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel at the time of application had over 200,000 views, and almost all my content was related to DevOps and cloud computing. For a YouTube channel to have over 200,000 views, it means you must have been producing a lot of content that is advancing whatever you're talking about, right? Or that is promoting whatever you're talking about. You must be able to prove that the digital product which you have or which you've created probably has had significant downloads. Somebody in this chat mentioned that they have done some contribution in a Python project, and that Python project or that Python library which they built had over 8,000 plus downloads. That's a good indicator. Over 8,000 people have been able to use the impact of his work, right? If 8,000 plus people can download your platform, if the platform is a product-led platform, if you're selling a service, let me do a simple math. If your service is £10 for a subscription, if 8,000 people pay £10 for your subscription on your platform, it means you can potentially make £80,000 through that platform. If you've been able to make £80,000, let's not even go up to £80,000. Let's end at £50,000. If you've been able to make £50,000 through that platform, it means that you have the potential of maybe coming to the UK. Maybe I've done it with little or limited resources. Maybe you can come to the UK tech economy or tech sector and scale your £50,000 software or platform into £50 million platform, right? So they look at those key performance indicators. If you have Google Analytics of your site visits, maybe 1 million people, you should have 1 million monthly visits in your platform and so on. You want to use your Google Analytics. If you have proof that through your platform you've made over, I always tell people you should be looking at a platform that has made over 20,000, well, 20,000 might be much, over 15,000 US dollars and above. If your platform has made over 15,000 US dollars and above with some of those key performance indicators, you can prove that that platform which you have is a great tool, which probably is a product which you can use for your proof of being a member or founder or whatever in a product-led company. Now let's see. With within the UK, I'm not sure. Is that a follow-up of the question which the person had? Within the UK and publish 5 research papers both within 5 to 6 months. Can this be used? Yes, that can be used. Another thing which you've even mentioned, which I would highlight, is some people will hear about UK Global Talent Visa today, and they will probably go and gather 1 or 2 documents and want to apply maybe this month end, or probably in February or in March or June, whatever the case. Mind you, they are evaluating your documents over a period of 3 to 5 years. One of the rejection letters which I saw, the comment which technician gave the applicant was almost all their evidence appeared to have been done within a 1 year framework. If you come up with a digital product this year, if you speak in tech conferences this year, if you have been an employee, whatever the case, this year, if everything is just this year, is a red flag to technician. The argument they'll give when they are rejecting your endorsement is all of those things which you did with the intention of applying for the UK Global Talent Visa. So you must make sure your profile spans across 3 to 5 years of experience. 3 to 5 years means that you might probably, we're in 2026, you might probably have some documents or some evidences which you built last year. You might build some other evidences this year, and so on. As the years progress, you can build more evidence to prove your exceptionalism, right? So some of those conversations, you must be able to have them in scope 3 to 5 years. Is that okay? Now let's make some progress. If you have any question, you want to leave that in the chat. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Now, I want to spend some time now to talk about common reasons why people get rejected. It's very important for some people to remove 500 pounds and apply and get rejected might be so hurtful, right? I know what it means to lose 500 pounds, and not just 500 pounds. A lot of people, when they're applying, it's not just the money factor, right? They have great visions. Mind you, coming to the United Kingdom is not like a last bus stop for some people, right? You can come here. If you have a business idea, you can do your business, you can scale your business, because the visa does not tie you. You must not be in the UK for the 5 years. There are a lot of people who have gotten the global talent visa, gone back to their home country. You can, with the visa, you can leave the UK, come back at any time you want. Like there's no restriction of you must stay in the UK for 5 years before you get the indefinite leave to remain. There is no such restriction, right? So because this is like a talk of the town, a lot of people equally make so many mistakes when applying. If you've ever been rejected in the if your application has ever been rejected, please let me know in the chat why you were rejected while I'm discussing some of the other reasons. Now, there are key things. The very first thing is poor storytelling. Let me start with this one: poor storytelling. One of the main reasons why people do not get endorsed is because they do not know how to tell the right story. Applying for the global talent visa, a lot of the impression which the endorsing organizations will have about you will be based off what you tell them in your application. There is no interview when applying for the global talent visa. The whole decision which is made is based on the documents which you submit. Once you submit documents, you make 3 to 5 weeks and you get a decision on your application. No interview of any sort, no human interaction, and everything just based on what you submit. So the person reading your evidence or reading your application, beginning from your personal statement, must be able to like be in a story with you, right? Your personal statement, which is like your first impression, should be able to drive the person's interest in your application. You must be able to get your recommenders really back up whatever you've said in your personal statement. And then your evidences should be backing up everything you have in your resume. Now, within the evidence or within all your evidence documents, mind you, every evidence document must be just 3 pages. If you do a document that is more than 3 pages, you are at risk of these additional pages not being looked at. For technician, they will look at documents just the first 3 pages of your just the first 3 pages of your document. Any other page outside that, there'll be no reference to it. So you want to be able to make sure all your documents are 3 pages max. Your recommendation letter should be 3 pages max. If your professor who has done significant work in quantum computing, has done significant work in data analytics, in research, whatever he's done, if he's to recommend you, we understand he has a great profile, a great whatever the case might be, his recommendation must be 3 pages. Now, a lot of people, when narrating their stories, they do not make the assessor believe their story. How do you believe my story? If I tell you I'm an AWS community builder, somebody else in the AWS community needs to attest to the fact that I am an AWS community builder. If I tell you I'm an AWS community builder or I've spoken at AWS events, how do I make you to believe? I'll probably show you images, videos, links, one blog article, maybe someone tweeting about it, maybe someone doing a LinkedIn write up, or whatever the case might be. I must have some other people, some other third party individuals recognizing what I've done. So you should or you must be able to have another person validate whatever story you're telling. And my best tip, always use pictures. If you're saying you're speaking at an event of over 1,000 people, there should be a picture showing you as a keynote speaker. There should be a flyer on some website saying meet our speakers or list of speakers, or here's our keynote speaker. You must have those links. You must have images to prove. You should equally have some people giving you recommendation letters. Some people giving you commendation letters just to back up an evidence document. That way, your storytelling is top notch. Once they open that document, they'll be like, oh, this guy says he spoke in this event. I can go to this website. I can verify that on this website, he was listed as a speaker. He mentioned that there were over 1,000 people in the event. This picture he has submitted, can I see 1,000 people in this event? I'll verify it. One of the keynote speakers in the event or someone else will come to the video and like, oh, wow, this person with this in this community has been able to validate what this guy said. So when I look at all of those things, they'll be like, oh, wow, what this guy said is true. I can attest to this, or this is a good document, right? So all those images, links, and so on, they are very important to have them in your document. That way, you give the assessor the impression that almost everything you're saying can be verified and must be verified. Now, all those things are very important in your storytelling, and your storytelling should reflect the criteria you're trying to meet. If you're writing a document for recognition or to prove a mandatory criteria document to prove they have been recognized, everything about that document should be looking towards recognition. Over the years, I've been doing significant work around this. I've been able to mentor this number of people through my community. I've been able to do this through the content which I create, through this 5 million people, 2 million people, this number of people. You should be able to, all of that is geared towards recognition. If you go to the place where you're writing an evidence around being an employee or a founder or whatever in the product company, you should be able to walk the viewer or the assessor through the fact that you build this software. This is the link to the software. They should have a link. They can click to the software. If they go to the software, if you say it's a product company, they will automatically see the pricing on the software on the platform, right? Now, in addition to the platform link to the platform. Some people, you don't necessarily need to share your administrative dashboard or log into your back end. But I always advise people, if you can set up Google Analytics for whatever solution you have, whatever digital technology you have, your Google Analytics dashboard can give you a lot of information about your product. So it can tell you the monthly visits. Maybe you've built a tool which 5 million people are visiting from the US, 10 million from the UK, from Canada, from Denmark, whatever the case might be. You must be able to show that this is the traction which my technology is bringing. If it comes to payment, it's not difficult. You can go to Stripe. You can download your payment history. Probably you've been able to make £80,000 through Stripe payments. You just go to your Stripe dashboard, you download your payment history. If you're collecting payments through maybe any other third-party tool, it might even be for those who are into feed, you might have different payment integrators. You go to the dashboard of that payment integrator, you get all the feedback in terms of the analytics, the financial. You add all of that, and that will give a strong story regarding your digital product. Don't come and say the UI of our platform was bad using, we were able to use best practices, we're able to do this, we're able to do that. That's good news for you and your team. But for the endorsing organization, they need to know exactly the impact of your tool and how much revenue, how many people have been able to benefit directly or indirectly from your tool. I'm seeing one new question. Let's see. Please, guys, let's like the live. Probably share it for other people to join. Let's see. Okay, we already answered that question. Question: does including video links in the evidence files significantly boost your storytelling to the assessors? Mind you, if I have a video link which I've maybe done like I've given a talk on something very important, and that talk has had 4 million people visit. Let me not use exact, let me not go to exaggerated numbers so people don't get scared, right? If that link has had maybe 100,000 plus or 50,000 plus views and engagements, if that link is about a very important technology, many people comment under that link. Many people have engagement with the video. That video might probably lead to another thing or another solution. So once you're providing that video link, you also have to have a trail of all the different touch points which that video has been able to create. With that video, all those touch points, you can effectively move towards establishing a solid story around that video. May the video, of course, not be on me, because you cannot say, I have this video on this platform. No. If I was to talk about my YouTube, my evidence case, the story was, I was on my story tab. The title of my document is recognize, or no, so the title of my evidence was subject matter expert. Maybe I should see if I can. I don't know if I can share, like, give me 1 minute. Let me see if I can share that, guys. It might take some time, but in the case of my YouTube, I mentioned subject matter expert on DevOps, producing technical content for early stage professionals. Now, at the time of submitting, I had a lot of DevOps playlists available. I had playlists on Linux, Terraform, some AWS concepts, Docker, Kubernetes, and all of that. So all those playlists were available. Now I was able to filter my videos based on the most viewed videos. I had some videos 28,000, some 10,000, and so on. So with that filtering, I was able to prove that my YouTube channel is able to significantly bring impact to those in the field of DevOps. Is that okay? Now let's look at I've talked about weak poor storytelling. Now the second reason why you can potentially get not endorsed is weak recommendation letters. Weak recommendation letters. I've kind of like on a high level listed some of the things which make your recommendation letter strong or weak. First, if your recommendation letter from whoever is recommending you, if it's more than 3 pages, it already brings a lot of issues, right? Secondly, if the recommendation letter or the person recommending you doesn't have any direct impact, don't go and maybe you go and you hear that this guy has been a founder of this and this company, or he has been doing this and that, and then you want to use that person as a recommender. That will not work. If the person does not have any, if the person does not have any relation with you, I do not recommend using that person for your application. You must have a relation with the person. The person that is recommending you must have an idea of the work which you have been doing over the years. The person's recommendation letter should be able to back up your personal statement story. It should be able to back up your evidence documents. It should be able to back up a lot of things. The person's recommendation will equally be a story that backs up your own story. And that is how you get a strong recommendation letter. So you must make sure that whoever is recommending you has a very good knowledge of the work which you've done and the impact of your work. That way, you'll be able to build a strong case with respect to your recommendation letters. Don't get people who have no idea, regardless of them being experts in the niche or whatever the case. Don't get such people to write recommendation letters for you if they do not have a close personal relation with you. Well, personal relation, not like, you understand what I mean. So, yes, let's make some more progress. The other thing is misaligned evidences. I already mentioned some of these misaligned evidences. You might be talking about, and this happens a lot, right? You'll see somebody who just hear about I need to prove that I've been a product or a founder of a product company, and he just rapidly gets one or two documents without looking at what he's submitting. So you'll see he'll be gathering evidences of what he has been speaking in a tech event. He'll be putting it under, like, you take optional criteria documents or evidence and you put it under mandatory criteria. You take mandatory criteria and you put under optional criteria. He's not even sure which one falls under which category. You need to make sure, excuse me, guys, you need to make sure that all your evidences fall under the criteria, because every document which you submit will be evaluated along a given criteria. If you're submitting a document and you're calling it a mandatory criteria document, that document will be analyzed as a mandatory criteria document. If you're submitting a document and you're calling it optional criteria document, that document will be evaluated as an optional criteria document. A lot more. You want to ensure that all your evidences meet the alignment of the endorsing organizations. Don't submit documents meant for other places in other places. Then another very common mistake is applying too early. I know that sounds like not a solid, well, not a very valid problem, but applying too early is problematic. Many people listen to this live and they'll be like, "Oh wow, maybe Mike has spoken about a lot of things, and I feel like I can easily get a good conversation, or I can easily put together a good application and so on." You're right, but in my opinion, when you're applying early, it'll be difficult for you to get third-party validations or whatever you'll be saying. If, for example, you need a recommendation letter, you need someone to give you a recommendation letter, you need to reach out to that person. That person probably needs to understand what you want the recommendation letter for. That person might probably take maybe a day or two or three to try to craft something. You need to go through that back and forth. So probably you do not have time to go through all that back and forth to have the right pieces of evidence. You realize that in as much as you've tailored you've submitted an application, your application will still not be valid, right? Because you've done a very good application, but the use case is lacking. Make sure that when you're submitting your application, you've carefully gone through all the components, you've reviewed the application over and over again, and you have a good understanding of where you stand. Guys, one very important thing which you must always take note of when gathering your application is the UK is very lenient. Why do I say lenient? I was invited for, I know a lot of you are probably aware of the AWS reInvent Summit in Vegas in the United States. I was invited in by Amazon to be a speaker in AWS reInvent. That was last year. I was invited to be a speaker. Mind you, I was just coming back from an event that I had an official invitation from the Prime Minister of Japan last year. My Japanese visa was still very, very much active, right? But I went to the US embassy and I was denied the visa. Interestingly, there was no mention of why or on what grounds the visa was denied. Of course, the visa officer would like, oh, we've gone through this. Unfortunately, you do not meet the visa requirements at this time, and they give you the famous green paper which they give when you're rejected for the UK for the US visa. I got that green paper, and it's a generic paper. I have no idea if that information in the paper like ties to my story. And many, so it doesn't make sense to me that 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 people come to the US embassy, get the same feedback about their application. It doesn't make sense. But with the UK Global Talent, if you're refused or your application is not endorsed, the endorsing organization spends ample time to give you reasons why you were denied. That is very important piece of information. If you have an idea why you were denied the visa, you can potentially work towards optimizing your profile to answer the questions which the endorsing organizations have. Very important. If you missed the guidelines, if you were not endorsed, they'll in the rejection letter, because I've come across a lot of those a lot of those rejection letters. In the rejection letter, the first thing they'll go through all the criteria one after the other. Did you meet this criteria? Yes, no. Did you meet this criteria? Yes. So they'll go through it and they'll give you feedback. This guy did not meet this criteria, and so on. They'll go through all the criteria top down. After going through the criteria top down, the second thing which they'll do is they'll give a feedback from the assessment panel. It's a whole panel that sits together to give the decision of your application. They'll give a general feedback based on your application. Why did they say you did? Why or on what grounds, on what basis was the decision made that you do not meet the mandatory criteria? You will state in the feedback. On what basis was the decision made that you did not meet any of the optional criteria? On what basis was your resume or your CV not up to their requirements? On what basis does your CV not meet their requirement? On what basis do they think that you do not have strong stories? So they give you a detailed reason why you were not endorsed. And that is very important, in my opinion, because you know what you lacked or what you're lacking. And for some people, you can potentially work on it before creating or submitting a new application. So it's very important for you to know where you stand in terms of when you're rejected, right? By the way, just to highlight, if you're just coming across this live now, I'm not an immigration expert. I mentioned this when we began the live. I'm not an immigration expert. I'm giving you feedback based on my visa application journey. Equally, I've gone through a lot of rejections from a lot of people since I've been talking about the visa since I got it. And don't quote me anywhere as an immigration expert, right? You want to do your due diligence on the endorsing organizations, their respective websites, and have most up-to-date feedback or up-to-date information regarding the endorsement. Now, there's a new question in the chat. When you correct the criteria, you didn't meet, I'm not sure. Someone says, um, when you correct the criteria, you didn't meet or work on the feedback. Will you be accepted back when you reapply? Reapplying is a new application. When you're rejected, you have the possibility to submit feedback. The feedback which you're giving is based on the current application. If you create an application now, a new application case file, your feedback will be based on or where your rejection or your rejection or acceptance will be based on the new application, on the application which you make. Should in case you're not endorsed and you feel like the decision from the endorsing organization was poor or was biased or didn't meet your requirements, they give you an opportunity to tender what is called a feedback. Within that feedback, if, for example, they mention that you do not meet this and this and this criteria because of this and this, you have the opportunity to justify or maybe to give more clarity in the case where the decision was wrong. So you're like, we feel that, or probably you feel that The endorsing organization mentioned you do not have enough evidence regarding this, but in your opinion, you believe that you can even provide like tangible reasons why maybe they had a misguided decision, right? That is only for that application. You cannot provide new evidences when you're giving feedback on your current application. So if I apply today and they're giving me feedback on the application which I made today, all the feedback, you cannot add new pieces of evidence. Your feedback and everything will be based on your evidence. And now what you can do is, because you know exactly why you're not endorsed, you can potentially create now a new application, and your new application will be like a new profile. And of course, you make good money from it, right? So if I was the one, I would probably take as many applications as you possibly can. So if the guy keeps messing up, let's take 10 more applications from him. 10 times £500, we have about 10, well, £5,000 from him. Now, 10 million people, now 10 million, well, let's assume 1 million people in a year apply for the global talent visa. You're looking around £1 million, £10 billion just through the application via technician. So those are some of the things which you must take note of. I think we'll be ending the live in a few minutes or in a few moments from now. But let's get to this is my I have two things which I want to touch before we can call the live can take it to an end. The very first thing is how you can. A lot of people might have probably heard I've been talking for so long, and maybe the question which should be going through your mind is how can I meet this criteria, or how can I meet the requirements, right? I'm probably not there yet, but what can I do to move towards getting myself a solid profile for the global talent visa? Now the very first thing is get to work, right? Get to work. In one of my videos I previously did, I mentioned to people that in this generation which we are, nobody really cares if you're a private person, right? Yeah, you might have a private life, it's fine. If you have some things which you feel like it's not public information, it's fine, right? But if you can like properly package yourself, if you can properly package your skill set, it's going to help you a lot. It's going to help. At the time I was applying for the global talent visa, I had no idea that visa was existing. I used to say to myself, if I'm leaving my home country, I should come to a country where I should be able to work on day one. And the UK global talent visa gave me the opportunity. So there was no day of me working towards a visa. I was just doing my stuff, right? So once you the first thing which I would say is get to work. I've mentioned a lot of things. Get to work. Start if you have an opportunity. Some people, there are some developers that I know, senior developers, excellent developers. I might be tempted to say some of them are more competent than myself. But those guys, you will never see them in any tech conference. You will never hear them around mentorship. They are just behind screens, right? Behind screens doing great work. And the founders of those companies or those institutions they work with, they're the ones making the noise. In the end, those founders always have those opportunities. So if I were in the position of you get to the point where you're doing a lot of work, right? Packaging yourself, putting a lot of content out there. You've heard about, they've mentioned that, okay, you can write technical articles in blogs. It can be your decision plan. That's why I'm even having this live in January, because we are at the start of the year, right? In your decision plan, you might decide that you're going to have create a lot of technical content this year around your field. If you want to create videos, you can create videos of tutorials and a lot more. If you have the opportunity to speak in conferences around your field, you speak in some of those conferences and all that. So you must be very intentional in your packaging this year. Now, public speaking. Take public speaking as like you do not miss any opportunity. And not that you should be too selective, but I've mentioned you should be speaking in conferences where it's mainly physical conferences, mainly over 100 people. If you can aim for conferences that have 250 plus people, fine. People go to conferences and they take very nice, cute pictures. Ladies, guys, you take very cute pictures, you put on your LinkedIn, I'm just from attending this conference and so on. That's fine. That's cool. Were you a speaker in the conference? Technician does not care if you've attended all tech events in your area. If you are if you are known in all your tech events, if you have been attending all those events, it's good. You're learning, but they don't care about attendees. Their focus is keynote speakers and panelists. So that should be your focus: keynote speakers and panelists. Keynote speakers and panelists. Now, some people, you've had the opportunity previously to mentor others. You've never seized that opportunity. Now it's your sign. Get into mentorship, right? When I talk about mentorship, I want to paint well to shed a lot more light around this. Mentorship doesn't just end with you saying I'm a mentor and it ends there. When you're doing mentorship, you must do mentorship through a structured program. They are going to evaluate your mentorship based on how structured your mentorship appears. If you have been doing mentorship, you're mentoring one person or two people, whatever, there's no proof that you're a senior expert in your field, right? But if you have a mentorship program, which is like a formal mentorship program, where they can see that, okay, in this your mentorship program, you've been able to put 10 people or 100 people or 20 people or well, no, 20 is small. 20 mentoring 20 people there's nothing fear advancing about mentoring 20 people. If you mentor say 100 people through your mentorship program, that's where now the endorsement organizations will really pay a lot more attention around you or towards you, right? So take take time, spend time, probably mentoring people, probably doing some speaking engagements, probably doing some open source contributions. All of these I'm giving for tech experts, right? Probably doing some open source contributions and be part of tech communities. While I was part of the AWS community, I can boldly tell you over over five pieces of the evidence you are submitted, over five pieces of the evidence which are submitted, those five pieces of evidence, they were all evidences around the AWS community that I connected with. A lot of the people I work with, they were within the AWS community. A lot of the projects which I worked on around the AWS community are a lot more, right? So it's you need to be very strategic in the communities you find yourself. They always say that where you when if you come to a place and you meet nine successful people and you're among and you're 10 of you, there's a high probability that you'll be the 10th successful person, right? So try as much as possible to be that bird that flies with the same feather as other birds. Now, your next steps for those who are maybe ready and want to apply, try as much as possible to begin first by compiling a compelling endorsement application. The endorsement application, again, I'll reiterate, maybe some people are just joining recently. The endorsement application, you must have detailedly mention what you have. You have to first detailedly mention your experience through your personal statement, your your CV, your 3 letters of recommendation, your 8 to 10 pieces of evidence. Before if you have all those documents, you review all those documents, then can you comfortably say you're willing or you're ready to create an application case, right? And I've shared with you guys, like I've shared with you the tool, the AI tool, which, in my opinion, is a good tool which you can use along your journey. You go through the tool. Probably if you're still trying to know if you're eligible, you can go through it. Based on your profile, they'll give you feedback on what you should be doing towards getting yourself the visa. The next thing is you're probably maybe you want to start generating your evidence document, or maybe you've already generated some of your evidence documents and you want to detailedly go through like how to really ensure that those documents are within the guidelines of the endorsing organization. You can just retry generating those documents to see what it looks like, and then you do a comparison, right? If you've already done the document, you can also do a review. So some of those resources are resources that will go a long way to ensure that you have a strong case. Again, your case needs to be strong. Let me tell you something. A lot of people are applying now for the global talent visa. Previously, the global talent visa was easy to get. Now, the government has shut down or is currently shutting down a lot of some of the immigration programs that were existing. And because they are shutting down some of those programs, they are doubling or capitalizing more on programs that are for highly skilled professionals. And because they are capitalizing for some of those programs, global talent visa will always be top on the chart because it's like you want the best of the best. Well, let me not say the government is doing brain drain. They're not doing something like that. But once you can prove, no matter where you find yourself, you come in, right? So the visa has been around for a long time. They have shut down. They are currently shutting down some of the other immigration routes, and there's key focus on this global talent visa. So you really, really have to be intentional about your application when you're doing that. Now, let's ensure that. I see another question. Does being a volunteer in the AWS community day count? If you're a volunteer in the AWS community day and as one man you're able to do some significant work, let's take for example, you're like the coordinator, volunteer coordinator, right? If I was to maybe build a case for a volunteer, I'll say I've been a volunteer coordinator for, let's take for example that event, AWS event took place in Berlin in Germany, for example. I can say for example that I was the volunteer manager for the AWS community day in Berlin. During the AWS Community Day in Berlin, as the volunteer manager, I was responsible for managing over 5 to 10, well, let's say 30 volunteers for the event. The event, which gathered over 10,000 or 1,000 or 2,000 people, was gracefully, whatever the case, done by my team of volunteers. So you see, you're building a good story, right? What was the population of the event? Over 2,000. Which field was it advancing? AWS, that's under DevOps. What was your role? Maybe you're a lead volunteer and so on. What impact did you create the event? The impact of the event will automatically be attributed to you because through your volunteer work, there was a successful event around Amazon Web Service or whatever the case might be, right? So it takes us back to the point where I mentioned that your stories need to be well crafted, right? Now, so what I'll tell you is don't feel like you're not yet there. By the way, let me get a quick poll. Just let me know in the chat, like your current role, right? For those who are in the industry, you can let me know in the chat your current role, like what you're currently doing and your years of experience. Maybe your current role and your years of experience, your current role and your years of experience. Any chance for a computer science student, university lecturer? Now, for those who are lecturers in university, computer science, I don't know if you have been, as a lecturer, I'm presuming that you've been able to do some significant, maybe you've done some research papers and so on. Like I told you guys a few moments back, there is this. Let me quickly share this. I'm guessing the person asking this question just recently joined. Please, guys, let me know in the comments like your different job titles and what you're doing and so on. Okay, for the computer science guy, this institution that is responsible for recognition Academy of Engineering. So they are going to review your work and match your work based on the impact which you're creating as an engineer or whatever, lecturer and so on. So you must have, I'm guessing you must have a lot of, I'm guessing you should have a lot of maybe papers you've written, significant contributions which you've done, maybe as a researcher and so on. Once you gather all your documents, Royal Academy of Engineering is going to review your documents, and you if you maybe you've done maybe let's assume you've probably still you can still have the UK Research and Innovation endorsing body responsible for analyzing your application. So that's another very important thing which you want to take into consideration. You want to think of of these endorsing organizations. So yeah, I think that I hope I've been able to answer your question. I hope I've been able to answer your question in a way. Let's see. Then one last thing, like I mentioned earlier, I talked about this tool, so you can spend some time using this tool to effectively go through checking your eligibility, checking your well, reviewing your documents. Probably you've created some new set of documents, and you're wondering where you stand. Right, you can probably use this to review your documents. Well, it's AI based, but I guess they'll give you a lot more context. You can review your resume, you can review your recommendation letters, you can review your evidence documents. Let's take for example evidence. Which criteria is this evidence target? Let's say mandatory criteria, and now you probably put the document, upload it, or you can. So you give you feedback like this, is especially for those who have already started their journey. You can go through this tool and it's going to give you like feedback on where you are or where you stand. Maybe I should just quickly do a demo. Well, just give me 1 minute. Let me pick up one of my evidences which I used. I hope they will not ask me to log in. Just give me 1 minute, guys. There's a personal statement and there's the. Let me just pick up one of my evidences. One of my evidences which I used, right? I'll just quickly pick up one of my evidences that I use. I think I should. It's currently processing a lot of things. So just give me 1 minute to pull up. Okay, I'm seeing I'm a cloud engineer. Okay, let's do this. Let me do this. If I'm to put my well, let me just put one of my evidences which I've done. Document review. That was I don't know if it was mandatory or optional criteria document. Let me just put innovation or recognition, and then I paste this here. Let me just put the text of the document and see. Mm, oh damn, I'm not subscribed. They will not give me that. Ah. But well, I don't know. You can just go through it at your feet, and then you should be able to. For some people, they might find it helpful in their application. Now, let me take one or two questions from people, and then from there we'll be able to maybe call it a day. I'm hoping probably I might host another live where we are going to, for those who are interested, I'm going to walk through those documents together with you, like one after the other, sample documents and all of that, maybe in another live. So let me just take for the next 5 minutes some questions which you might have in the chat. Then for those who want to maybe reach out to me, let me just share my LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and then you just DM me on LinkedIn with any questions which you have. I'll probably be able to answer those questions on LinkedIn. Let's see. Here's my LinkedIn. After the video is processed, I'll equally add all the links to the resources that we've mentioned here in this video. So, any questions, please? If you have any questions, you want to leave those last questions in the chat. Let me go through them while we are like kind of wrapping up the conversation. Okay, it appears we don't have as many questions as probably people have been able to elaborate more on their questions. So guys, let's catch up another time, maybe on this subject or on another subject. If you are not yet subscribed, I'll be so happy, so grateful if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, because it's going to help me to reach out to many other people who are looking out at or to getting such information that can potentially advance their career in maybe tech or just maybe moving to the UK. And of course, I've seen a lot of people in the chat, DevOps engineers, cloud engineers. If you're a beginner or you're in the industry for some time, I equally have a lot of resources on my YouTube channel which you can leverage and, well, probably get yourself where you want to be if you're not yet there, or where you want to or gain more insights with respect to the field. But until next time, this after this live is processed by YouTube, I'll make the live link available. Probably some information was taken in a haste. You want to probably rewatch, make sure you get all the information. And like I said, wherever, whatever stage you are in your journey, if you're not yet eligible, you're still trying, just leave me one or two messages on my LinkedIn, and then we'll probably take up the conversation from there. Yes, did you use this tool when you were applying? Absolutely. Like I told you, I had no idea on how will I know if I meet the requirements. Of course, I know it's AI based, but you won't. It gives a lot of insights, right? You cannot. The endorsing organizations will not just be reviewing people's applications out there, but it will give you a lot of insights onto what you're doing with respect to your application, which I believe that it will take you a lot more. It should save you more rather than maybe getting the feedback finally from the endorsing organizations. So yeah, any specific questions you have, please do well to leave those questions on my LinkedIn. And until we see again in another stream or maybe live, or maybe some people I might get the opportunity to meet you guys, do have a nice time and see you guys. Ciao, ciao, ciao.